Welcome back to Harbour Unboxed. Today we're talking best GeForce GTX 1070 graphics cards. However, rather than just pick 5 models that I think are the duck's nuts, we're going to get all technical and break things down into categories. Full disclaimer, this is an opinion piece, so some of the picks are based on my own hands-on experience, while others were selected based on research from trusted sources. Having checked out a rather large range of GTX 1070 graphics cards now, I have a pretty good idea of which direction to steer you guys in. In fact, the entire reason this video came about was because on an almost daily basis, someone asked me which model I should buy. Sometimes it's a GTX 1070, other times it's an RX 580 for example, or sometimes it's something completely different. Anyway, I thought I'd start with my GTX 1070 picks and go from there. If you guys like this kind of video, please let me know in the comments below, and I can really apply it to any kind of PC hardware, whether that be CPUs or motherboards or whatever else. Please note that this is not sponsored content. Some of the brands mentioned in this video have sent me hardware in the past, but that in no way influences my recommendations. Okay, so the categories included are Best Value, Best Compact Gamer, Best Overclocker, Best Liquid Cooled All-in-One, and Best Overall Design. So, let's get to it. So, right off the bat, this is probably going to be my most controversial pick, but hear me out. A few months ago, I reviewed the Galax GTX 1070 EXOC EXOC White, and I found it to be a very underrated graphics card. Priced at $400 US or $520 Aussie, it is one of the cheapest GTX 1070s you can get your hands on in both the US and Australia. US shoppers will have to refer to the Galax store where various versions of the card are available. You get the white or the black version, and again they're selling for $400. Out of the box performance is excellent, and overclocked it had no trouble matching the more premium products from the likes of MSI and Gigabyte. I also really liked the card's aesthetics, and in particular the build quality was excellent, featuring an all-metal design. No plastic heat shrouds here then. If for whatever reason you don't like or can't get your hands on the Galax GTX 1070 EXOC, then I recommend checking out the Asus GTX 1070 Dual OC. It's another great value GTX 1070 graphics card. Now, there are 3 key contenders for the best compact GTX 1070 graphics card: the Zotac Mini, MSI's Aero ITX, and Gigabyte's Mini ITX. All 3 are quality products, but I would pick either the Gigabyte or MSI versions for a few reasons. First of all, they're almost 20% more compact at just 17cm long, while the Zotac card spans a comparatively long 21cm. They're also much more cost effective, at about $400 US or $570 Australian. Down under, the Zotac Mini is nowhere to be found, while over in the US it costs an insane $540, so pricing alone makes the Gigabyte or MSI cards the more obvious choices. Despite their tiny stature, these small 1070s run reasonably cool and quiet while maintaining a boost frequency of at least 1.8 GHz when gaming, which is quite a bit better than Nvidia's much larger and much more expensive Founders Edition version. So if you're after a super compact nano-light graphics card that still packs a serious punch, these little guys deliver. The question is, which one should you buy? Honestly, they are both very similar, so in my opinion, go with whichever one's cheaper. The Gigabyte model is overclocked a smidge higher out of the box, but the MSI card runs a degree or two cooler, and it is quite a bit quieter. Given the MSI card is around 10 decibels quieter under gaming load, this is probably the way I would go given the option. Truth be told, the best overclocker category doesn't really make sense or probably isn't worth it with the GeForce 10 series, particularly the mid to lower end tier models such as the GTX 1070 or GTX 1060. There are a few reasons for this, most notably of which is the fact that the GTX 1070 runs at a maximum GPU boost 3.0 frequency of 1.9 GHz if thermals and power targets are within the optimal range. The very best cards hit around 2.1 GHz, which is only a 10% overclock. So with the 1070s already running near their maximum operating frequency out of the box, that doesn't leave much wriggle room for overclockers to work with. In the past, for example, I've managed to extract between 5 and 10% more performance, so hardly anything to get excited about. Having said all that though, there are some cards that hold their peak boost frequency really well, and they're just a bit easy to work with. For me, the best overclocker I've come across is MSI's GTX 1070 Gaming X 8G, and I've heard many others also having quite a bit of success with this model. Therefore, if you are keen on exploring the limits of the GTX 1070, this is the model I'd recommend. It's also very reasonably priced, which is another reason why I'm selecting it, at $450 US, though it is a little more pricey down under, typically selling for about $630 Australian. Most of the all-in-one liquid-cooled GeForce 10 series graphics cards sport a GTX 1080 GPU or greater. That said, there are a few GTX 1070 liquid-cooled models to choose from, the best of which in my opinion comes from EVGA. They have two models on offer, the standard GTX 1070 Hybrid Gaming and the For the Win model. Basically, if you plan on custom overclocking the graphics card, and you probably should since it's liquid cooled, get the For the Win model as it features a significantly upgraded VRM and an extra 8-pin power input. It also comes more aggressively overclocked out of the box and features fancy RGB lighting. EVGA are also only charging a $40 US premium for the upgrade, so to me that seems fair. Pricing over in the US is very reasonable. The base model sells for just $445 US, making it an exceptionally good buy. Down under, expect to pay about $780. And then for the For the Win model, which I recommend, that's about $480. So only about a $40 premium, like I said. As a side note, if you can happily accommodate the 120mm radiator in your build, then this might be a better candidate than MSI's Gaming X for the best overclocker. So keep that in mind. Okay, the best overall design. A category I wish I didn't create if I'm honest. Okay, so full disclaimer, this one is completely based on my own opinion. I mean, they all have been, but this one probably more so. Let's just say if I had my pick of any GTX 1070 out there right now, which one would I choose? By this I mean price isn't a factor. I mean, if it were, I probably wouldn't be going with any of these choices. I'd be getting the most cost-effective option for sure, as this is a GTX 1070 and not a 1080 Ti. Anyway, let's just assume it's free. As I try and work out which card to go for, I really understand why potential buyers have a hard time with this. I'm torn between the Gigabyte Aorus card, the Asus ROG Strix, the Palette Game Rock Premium Edition, the MSI Gaming X, and Gigabyte's stealthy looking Rock 8G. That's a cool looking card as well. Of course, there's even more options. It's really like they say, the list goes on. Still, if I had to pull the trigger on just one, I think I'd once again go with the EVGA GTX 1070 For the Win Hybrid Gaming. It's an awesome looking GTX 1070, build quality is second to none, and out of the box, nothing beats it. The only issue here being that for pretty much the same money you can pick up a base model GTX 1080, so keep that in mind when investing in a premium GTX 1070 graphics card. For me, this is why my best value picks make the most sense. Well, there you have it, my GTX 1070 picks. Out of those categories, I feel the best value and best compact gamer are probably the most useful for shoppers, as they make the most sense when purchasing a GTX 1070. Like I said earlier, there's no point spending a huge amount of money on a 1070 because you could just get a 1080. Anyway, that's my opinion. Of course, if you disagree with any or all of my picks, please let me know in the comments below. Always keen to hear what you guys think. If you enjoyed this style of video and would like more, be sure to let me know what I should cover next. For those of you who are keen on another big benchmark video, don't panic, I do have something incoming very soon as I compare the Radeon RX 560 and GeForce GTX 1050. I'll probably throw in the 1050 Ti as well, and those cards will be tested in 30 video games, so it's going to be a big one. I also have a few other really exciting benchmark projects on the horizon, so keep an eye out for them. I'm your host Steve, see you next time guys.